What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live. Joined as always by my co-host Jonathan Holder, and today joined by a special guest. Good Lord, my mouth just anyway. Special guest John Yates from Out of Your Falcon Mind. We'll start with our guest, Mr. Yates. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm good, man. It's been a rainy day, kind of continued on from Sunday, even though we just skipped over Monday. But it's okay. It's all right. Like I tweeted out earlier for our show. It's like I put the stand from South Park. I was like, it's gonna be okay. We just gotta get through it. It's gonna be okay. We've been through worse, right? We've been through worse.
Yeah, true. Jonathan, what's going on, brother?
Fire Jimmy Lake, hire Robert Saleh, let him take over the defense.
Hey, I'm down.
There you go.
That's how I feel today. Like I don't want to see. I mean, we're going to see him, but I don't want to see Jimmy Lake. That defense. I want to see somebody who knows what they're doing with the defense, because apparently Jimmy Lake doesn't know. I always talk about, like, we don't know. These coaches, no matter how good, bad, indifferent, whatever, these coaches, they probably know more than this and that and the other. I'm not going to say that about Jimmy Lake because I don't know how you, as a professional coach, can go into a season and be 11 games in and have less sacks than games played. Like, you can't even luck into like 2 more sacks so that you're at least above that Mendoza line, right? And it's just ugh.
I'll say this: when we're in the off season, there's a handful of like well-respected like defensive guys that I'll converse with back and forth. One of them y'all might know. He does the Make Defense Great Again podcast. It's Coach Vass. And I just shot him a message. I was like, hey man, what's your thoughts on Jimmy Lake? Because I didn't know nothing about him,
Mm-hmm.
And he just sent back basically a puke emoji.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh God. And then I got that same like type of message back from a few others, and it was, it was no good. And I thought to myself, I was like, okay, maybe it's just wrapped up in the, like, how it ended for him in Washington, because I looked into all that or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was controversial, shoving a player kind of thing. But when you looked at it, I was like, I don't know. It didn't really look all that,
No.
big of a deal. But now it definitely seems like it's more than just, obviously, his coaching style, maybe his inability to change, make shifts, what have you. Chris says, I don't like to say I told you so. Never mind. Yes, I do. Yes, you do. And, Chris is one of the ones, like, he lives up there in Oregon, and, like, he saw that stuff firsthand up there with Jimmy Lake in Washington. And so, like, the problem that really worries me and bums me out, something we said before we really got going, and I guess I don't want to mess everything up. So I guess before we jump off too deep into it, let me hit this. See, I think the problem with that is now, Jonathan, is because StreamYards finally did the whole deal where I can play a video.
Yep.
Like the stream starting soon has now kind of become the intro. Anyway, that's y'all didn't come here to listen about that.
No, I got you.
But
we missed it like twice in the past month, I think.
Yeah, so. It's been bad. It's been bad.
Y'all do that, and I miss the banners. I create banners and then don't use them.
I've quit with the banners. I've quit with the banners because we did that for a while, and they were helpful. But now that basically during the season we're just talking about the game.
Yeah.
And so there really is no like banner, type deal to keep me on track. But anyway, back to Jimmy Lake, and Fred is kind of making a point here. With $5, we appreciate you, Fred.
Appreciate it, Fred.
He said we need to make a few changes and stop running Raheem's scheme and Jimmy Lake's scheme instead of and stop giving Bijan the ball on every first down. I'll say on that first part, that's kind of the part that concerns me, is that when you look at it schematically and stylistically, this is what they did out in LA. Like, this is more closer to what they did in LA versus what Jimmy Lake did his full year in Washington as like DC and stuff. So is this just a case of Raheem saying, hey, this is what I want you to run? And kind of like when we had Sark running Shanahan's offense.
Yep.
Like, here's the playbook. This is what I want you to run.
Mm-hmm.
But Lake doesn't have a good feel for it.
Maybe, and look, maybe he comes back next year if he makes it through the offseason, right? That all depends on like how things go down the stretch, right? If the defense really stinks it up, like really like, because it is what it is with regards to the sacks. One thing we can say though is earlier in the season, we were holding teams, even the good offenses that we were facing, we were holding them to like low 20s, maybe even in the high teens. We were holding them to that much because we were keeping them out of the end zone. We were one of the better red zone defenses in the league, not allowing people to get those. They would get down there, we just wouldn't let them in.
Right.
And so we were giving up lots of field goals. We weren't giving up a lot of touchdowns. Well, now we're giving up lots of touchdowns. If that trend continues, he may not make it out of the offseason. But let's say he does make it out of the offseason. He gets an offseason to really like get it. He's had the full season, work through this defense. Maybe he goes into the offseason. Maybe he comes out next year with a better understanding of how to run this defense, better understanding of what he needs for this defense. And then maybe we can make some changes that way, and maybe it works. Or maybe we come out the other side and they're like, okay, we're just going to scrap that, go with what you want to go with, and we'll go there. But then you're changing your defense up again. But at least you're getting into something that the coach is well versed in.
Maybe.
But again, I will stand by it. If we come out of this bye week and we have fired Jimmy Lake, like I'll say this: if Raheem wants his defense run his way, which is what it seems like, if that's what he wants, then he needs to be DC coach.
Right. He needs to be calling the plays
because nobody's going to know it. Nobody's going to know it like he does.
Well, I'll say this. Oh, go ahead, John.
So he didn't rule it out either at the press conference. He just said never say never. So
well, and I'll say this: like, it seems like something tends to happen at halftime, whether it's something that Raheem is seeing or what have you, and or him and Jimmy are finally able to, for 10, 15 minutes, put their heads together, because they do tend to make, even though they didn't this game, and I think honestly this game got out of hand more because like the players that you were missing as much as anything else. But the idea that maybe whatever their adjustments they're making, if that's coming from Raheem, maybe Raheem does need to take it over from get-go or from Jump Street. But there's a lot of issues defensively, and right now the easiest scapegoat is the DC, obviously, because he's the one that's supposed to be in charge of all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, like throughout the season, it's just been like a combination of like you've had your linebackers healthy all of 2 games, and they haven't. I mean, other than Troy's amazing game against the Saints, like the linebacker play has not been good. Defensive line play has not been good. I mean, everyone got much out of Judon. Grady hadn't got much, like 0 out of Onyemata, except for 1 sack to save the game in Tampa. That was that. I mean, Root got hurt. That sucks. Trice was hurt. That sucks. Got to see Dorless look pretty decent, but it took about a ton of injuries for him to get in there. Street, gone. Take TQ hurt. I mean, so yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just a combination. But what drives me nuts about Lake is, I mean, 3rd and 4, and you're playing 15 yards off the guy.
Yeah,
like dude, like what are you even in the red zone? Like, what are you trying to prevent there exactly? Like,
right.
They can only go so far. So like press them and like do something different, because like running the same scheme all the way down the field is madness, especially when you
ain't stopping it. Like,
it's bizarre to me, man. But yeah, I mean, it's a common. Like, the players haven't been as good as we thought. We thought we had a pretty decent line and we were gonna have some depth, right? That really hadn't panned out, and it's just been a combination of just not the players not living up to their end of the billing. And then whatever this scheme is, just not really, because you have, as good as our back end is, it starts up front. It always does.
Yeah, like
and it doesn't, I mean,
if the QB has all day in the world to sit back there and make a sandwich, and if all he has to do is shuffle to the side and step up a little bit, and like
and even what the game against the Seahawks, we had over 50% pass rush rate, and they still beat us by 3 touchdowns. It's like, okay,
right.
I mean, well, shit, we can't do anything right. So I mean,
that's a bit. Willie says. So how do you decide to stick with a DC versus giving up on him too early? He might figure it out or not. Like, how do you know? And that's where, unfortunately, for head coaches, like those kind of decisions are what inevitably, like sink or swim, right?
Yeah.
You go back to, Dan Quinn, right? He come out of that 2018 season and fires both Sark and Marquand Manuel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was feeling the pressure, fires them both. We famously talked about the amount of 16,000 plays or whatever they, watched that off season to try to figure out the scheme. And then 2019 comes around and you're crap, and you bring,
we brought back Mike Mularkey.
Well, not just Mike Mularkey. You brought back Dirk Cutter.
God.
That was Dirk Cutter. That's what it was. Yeah.
Like you brought back Dirk Cutter, which was my Jimmy Lake in this scenario. I couldn't stand.
Most boring scheme in the history of football.
Right. Like you bring back Dirk Cutter, who has no innovation whatsoever, and then you install yourself as the DC, and it gets worse. So, I mean, inevitably or ultimately, that's what got Dan Quinn fired. Now he learned. At least he seemed to have learned his mistakes. We'll see how they finish up there in Washington. But let's see. Batty's Best says, my guy's his name is James Lake until the damn defense. I'll say this. It's kind of funny that you bring that up. Me and my real good friend have had a running joke for years that it's Jimmy's fault. Right. Anytime anything goes wrong, the joke becomes an excuse. It's like, damn it, Jimmy, and so it's hilarious at this junction that it is Jimmy's fault. that we're, at least that's who we're blaming. The part that concerns me is the thing that is, coaches control is also personnel. It takes until the 12th game or 11th game to get Brandon Dorless in.
How did he do, by the way?
He did okay. Like he had 9 snaps, at least 1 QB pressure. He's stacked and shed okay. Like he played all right. But again, next to no snaps. And you're not getting Eddie Goldman in there. Like he was going to be the nose tackle, and he's not getting any real snaps. So you're not plugging up the middle. It's just been ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't get some of the combinations at all that they've used. And when Goldman's been in, he's been good. That's the thing. He's been good, and Harrison's been good. I know he got hurt last week, but his snaps counts seem to just teeter either lower or lower, or I mean, I can't understand why they can't get him in there either. It's, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. So they put in the older guys, Grady gets his, Animata gets his, and I love Grady, but nothing's really. I mean, he'll get through a couple of times, but other than that, what's really happening? It's nothing's going on. So, and it sucks that Root got hurt when he did, because he was showing some real promise, man. To really help out this line. But I don't know. We all mad that we didn't go get anybody, or just kind of indifferent about it?
You talking about at the trade deadline?
At the deadline, yeah.
There was part of me that was like, hey, we should have done something. But then there's part of me what the hell is one person going to do?
Right.
There's it was, unless the only one that made sense to me, and I didn't really even look at his contract to know if that was what held it up. But the only one that made sense to me really was either there was Zadarius Smith, and then there was a younger guy that I'm blanking on his name. Ah, crap. Who was it?
I wanted Zadarius. But...
It was Azeez Ojulari.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I was going to be okay with Azeez Ojulari because that was a guy you could potentially build around. But when it came down that the Giants weren't going to trade for, or weren't going to trade him, then I understood why. Okay, you're not really going to give up. And I think it was our buddy Joe Patrick from 92.9 who brought up the point of missing that 5th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been what really messed us up, because we weren't necessarily, none of these guys were really outside of Aziz.
Yeah.
None of them were really worth giving up more than like a day 3 pick. And you didn't really have a day 3 pick to give up.
Yeah.
No, that's how I felt too. Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, I was same as y'all. Like, I'd have been okay with Aziz, but like, it took him how many years to really come out. Like, this is his 3rd or 4th year now. And it's to really get going. And like, you don't know how much of that's him or how much of that's the line he's got there with
Well, I
him.
mean, you got Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then with Za'Darius, it was kind of obvious that Detroit was going to make a play at one of those guys, because they are one player.
Right.
They're literally there. So like
they
needed
sense, they needed somebody to try to at least give you something that Aiden Hutchinson was giving
for sure. Yeah.
Well, so I made this comparison a few weeks ago. Right now, I feel like the Falcons are very much the Detroit Lions from just before, maybe like the first year of Dan Campbell.
Right.
Like the first year Dan Campbell, we've won more than they did, I think, because I still think they had like a horrible record that first year with Dan Campbell. But like you could see that there were some differences a little bit with that Detroit Lions team. And then the second year they came out, they played better. And I think that might have been the year they actually got Aiden Hutchinson.
As a rookie, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And initially, like first little bit of the season, like it looked like he was not going to pan out. Like a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, he hasn't really done much of anything." Then he kind of exploded in
right.
history, right? But like we're in that phase of we're better than than maybe we thought we were going to be coming in, especially maybe offensively, although it didn't show in this last game. Offensively, we're better than we probably thought we were going to be. Defensively, we're worse than we thought we were going to be. And I think we're not going to get like super high pick, but we're not going to get a super low pick. We're going to probably be somewhere in the middle, and we need to figure out some way to get like essentially our Aiden Hutchinson for the defense. Not him specifically, but
we need to get a difference maker on the defensive line.
Yes,
100%.
That's
you got to get the guy that it doesn't matter if you've got to find a guy somehow who can be an Aiden Hutchinson, who could be a TJ Watt kind of guy, who you can double team him, you can try to scheme up for him, you can do all those things, but he's still going to win his share of those battles. And when it's clutch time and you need a play, you need somebody to come up with a big play, that's a guy you look to. And he's not going to do it every single time, but he's going to do it more times than not.
That's the thing is like you look at, Detroit, you look at the Denver Broncos, you look at the Steelers or what have you. That's why I was frustrated when it was draft time. I was, when we did, regardless of how they are playing currently right now, when you were in prime position to take a defensive cornerstone or potential, defensive cornerstone, and you turn around and take a quarterback instead, is because at the end of the day, if you're not building a defense, you're not going to win in this league. And the reason why I say that is look at like Kansas City. They were 9-0, now 9-1, but they were 9-0 because of their defense. Like their offense made plays when it had to, when it absolutely had to, but their defense is what kept them in the game. Pittsburgh, their defense is the reason why they're 7-2.
Oh yeah.
And Denver's defense is the reason why Bo Nix is able to have a chance to grow and look good. Mm-hmm. The reason why Bryce Young looked like an abject failure is because they couldn't stop nobody. You have to be able to stop people and get extra, get extra possessions for your offense. And early on in the season, we weren't able to stop people, but we were getting timely turnovers. I said a few shows back, that was the only thing we could really hang our hat on was turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are fickle.
Gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Those are fickle. Jesse Bates is still leading the league in like forced fumbles and stuff like that. He's right there with like Fred Warner, but you can't always count on a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, and it's like that's what, like I was saying, that's so frustrating. It's just like last year with Art. It's like, JR, you watched the film too. It's like he can call whatever play, but the quarterback's got to read it and make the play, right? And it's the same thing with the defense. Like Jimmy can call whatever, but those guys up front, they have to win their matchups. How many times have we faced rookies, like 6th round rookies, guys that are hurt and guys that are on their 3rd string, and we still can't get like it.
No.
It's like it's unacceptable, man, to have the guys we have and they cannot win their match. I don't care what scheme you call, man. If you can't win a matchup at least a couple of times a game and get to the quarterback, like 10 sacks, it's just. I mean, people. And I get tired of folks saying like, "Well, the sacks really don't matter." They do though. Like they change games,
right?
They change games.
It's not that It's not that we think sacks are indicative of what is going on.
Yeah.
Like if you can't get to the quarterback, that means you're not getting anywhere near the quarterback.
Right. And I get the Giants suck, but they're up there with sacks. I mean to cut you off, JR, but like I know like they're up there with sacks and they suck, but they have no offense. We have an offense. Or at least we had one. Last few weeks I don't know what's happened to it, but typically we have an offense that can score. So that if you have an offense that can score, okay. Well, now you need that complimentary football everybody talks about. Well, we need the defense to go out there and get and do their damn job.
You take that defense from New York. If we were to like transplant it, literally take like everything from New York and be like, okay, here we're going to switch defenses. Just keep the offenses the same. Just switch the defenses. You put that defense on this team, and this team has probably got another win or two easily under their belt. Because it's not just the sacks, right? It's not just even the turnovers, because the turnover, depending on where it's at, could be good, could be bad, could be all kinds of different things. You get an interception and then you're down at the 1 yard, your own 1 yard line. That's kind of you got to now go 99 yards. You stop them from scoring, but your chances of scoring are fairly small. Okay, but you're talking about a defense that can give you short fields, that can flip the field for you, that can get you that sack, maybe a sack fumble, get you that short field so that our offense is not having to drive 70, 80, plus yards to go and get a score, right? And it's that kind of thing that we don't have. And when we have had it this year, when the turnovers have been really good because they've been at midfield or something like that, the offense is rolling. Right. Yeah. When the offense has to drive the field constantly, drive after drive after drive, you're not going to see that consistency like you want in the scoring, because your chances of scoring are a lot smaller when you have to go the full length of the field. So
King 7, he says, dang, they made a change the logo, made me change my logo and made JR not want to wear a hat. I honestly forgot I wasn't wearing a hat. Trey Murphy said something about it too. Oh man, my bad. Forgot I wasn't didn't
Oh, did we ever play or show Fred Butts Willie Doc's
No, I'm about to do that now. Yeah, I'm about to do that right this minute, because I figured we needed to get this part done with, I guess you could say. Not done with. We're going to keep talking about the game, obviously, but with an extra person, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get to the dealio. But as you are alluding to, it's everybody's favorite time of the show, ballers and fallers. Willie Doc always starts us off with that. We appreciate you, Willie.
Appreciate it, Willie.
He says, no baller, no honorable mention, fallers, the entire team, including the cheerleaders.
Dang.
Right? I was like, dang.
Dang.
Side-eye glance, Morris. 3 games where the teams seemed ill prepared. So I agree with all that, 100%, 100%.
Yeah, the only thing I changed is I texted you this just before we got on, even before the show. But I fully agree. Like ballers, no one. There was nothing redeeming coming out of that game. This is
And
one of
Koo
those.
made his kicks though, huh?
Okay, fine. We'll give it. Baller was cool because man hopefully got his groove back. But yeah, other than that, there was nothing redeeming. This is one of those you burn the tape.
Yep. And move on.
And go on, vacay for a week,
And
come back recharged, hopefully, and
get your head right.
Get your head right. But yeah, Fallers was like I told Jay is like if we were going to do anything, it was going to be just Faller and then a logo of the Falcons logo, and that was it.
Yep.
Because the special teams was ass, the defense was ass, the offense was ass. The only thing on special teams was Koo that he wasn't, but that's it. Everything else,
those 2 kicks last week.
Yeah, right.
So baller, nobody, nope, nobody. Like, come on, that was the worst thing I'd seen in quite a while.
This is the only game
that was worse than the Seattle game.
Yeah.
Since we started our show, this is the only game I'm not watching twice. Like I have no intention of watching that game again.
No, I have done. Dude, when they went up 28-6, I turned the game off. Didn't even finish it. I was like, whatever, I don't even care. I was like, y'all have decided not to show up and you have pissed me off. I've checked on some other things, just to make sure I wasn't like completely off base, but yeah, no. All right. So, that was easy. No faller or no baller. Faller. The entire freaking team.
Yep.
The entire team. Like, what else am I? We have spent 30 minutes almost talking about who the faller was.
Yep.
If we talk about team wins, well, this was a team loss. Like, there was nothing redeemable. I mean, first game in 5 or 6 games where Bijan didn't break 100 yards from scrimmage. Drake London was under 100 yards. Kyle Pitts only had about two catches. It was just a bad game all the way around.
Yes, it's not good when the coach says that we got out efforted and like in his press conference when they asked, I think was it Mark Zeno asked him like, does it piss you off a little bit? Does it make you mad? And he wouldn't even say it made him mad. He was like, well, it's more disappointing. Like I get it, like dude, like you're a positive guy and everything, but it's okay to say like, yeah, it really pissed me off. Like I got after him. Like it's cool to say that. Like we want you to say that actually. Like we'd prefer you say that so we know it wasn't just us being pissed off on Sunday looking at that team. But
well, yeah, and that's the what you saw is the downside. There's downsides to everything, right? There's downsides to a complete and utter hard ass coach, and there's downside to a player's coach.
Yeah, I like a good medium, a good in between.
That's what you need. That's like as far as a coach went, sounds like that's what you got with Art, but he sucked with the media.
Right.
Like he absolutely was atrocious on the podium, which didn't help him or endear him at all to the fan base. And so that's what you get with a player's coach is not really mad, just disappointed, that whole deal that you got from your mama, you know what I'm
saying? Be a player's coach when you need to be a be a hard ass when you need to be.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting him to be perfect about that. Sometimes you may be a hard ass when you don't need to be. And sometimes you may be a player's coach when you don't need to be. That kind of stuff is going to happen. But I mean, that's the goal if I was ever a coach, my I want my guys to not necessarily kind of like your parents. Like you don't want your kids to fear you to a certain extent, right? Like you don't want your kids to fear you in that, like, oh my God, my dad, you don't want to be debilitating, but you want it to be like, if I screw up, you want it somewhere in the back of that mind somewhere. I screw up and I get caught. My dad's gonna whoop my ass.
No, they just need to know the look at least. Like
Right.
if you
Yes.
see
Like
that
you-
look, you're
you-
like, oh damn it. Like, okay,
Right.
we gotta
Like at
we
the end
messed
of the
up there.
day, you know, like John, you know, you got a son, I got a little girl. At the end of the day, like all I got to do is say her name.
Yeah.
You don't. It's not a fear; it's that healthy respect.
Yep.
Because on the flip
Yes.
side of that, she'll come to me for anything. You know, before the show even starts, she comes in here, Daddy, can you help me get some orange juice? Of course I can. You
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
you know, you screw up, and hey.
So
So
if it comes down to it, like hopefully, yeah, I know him and Jimmy are tight, but like, dude, if it's your job or his job, like if it comes to that, like you better make that decision. That's his job. not,
I bet,
and
yeah,
don't be the guy that just hangs on to your that loyalty that much, and you can't, you know what I mean, where that kind of blinds
Mhm.
you with what's going on right in front of your face. I mean, sometimes that can be tough.
King said, shake my head. All Raheem wanted to do was outrun the South. Well, hell, he forgot about the other 9 teams outside of the NFC
Yeah.
that we have to play. There's a part of me that, and who says it? Dexter follows up, says outrunning the South is a corners cutter's approach to winning over Arthur Blank. It really felt like the focus, you know, became we have to win our division, which whether like it comes to the light with the media or through the fan base or not, that's always a coach's first step is, you know, if you can win your division, you know, you're guaranteed a playoff spot and then anything can happen, so to speak. But yeah, like now, as we were talking about before, because you didn't beat the Saints and didn't beat the Broncos, right? You had a real chance to make even greater distance, give yourself even more cushion. I think the playoff chances from some betting line dropped from 80% to 70%. You're still like, oh, well, you're still 70%. Right. Now the margin of error is even closer. It's even smaller. And you got at least 3 more very challenging teams that you have to face. The Chargers have found their way.
It's good defense too.
Right. They got a good defense. Justin Herbert is really starting to operate well in that Greg Roman offense.
And what Bo Nix just did to us. Damn it.
That's what I'm saying. Like
I know.
we're going to be, you know, we're going to be 6-6 unless they can
Looking that
figure
way,
something
man.
out.
Yeah.
And then you have the Vikings, which their offense has been they're not as, you know, killing it as they were, but they still got Justin Jefferson, probably the best wide receiver in the league. And their defense ain't nothing to sneeze at.
No.
With, you know, Brian Flores and his crazy exotic looks. Now, our only like somewhat benefit there is, you know, Kirk Cousins should be at least familiar of being in that building with Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then you also have the Commanders who may be starting to suffer the Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury end of season fall off.
It looked a little more normal against Philly.
Right. They looked a little
More
bit
regular.
more. Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe by the time we get to them, second game before the end of the season, may not be as daunting. But I can easily see coming out of this bye being 3-3 by the end of the season, which puts you at 9-8.
Right.
And so 9-8, let's take a gander at Tampa Bay's remaining schedule. Because if we're going to outrun the South, right? That's what we're going to outrun the South, then we need to look and see how the rest of the South. And the only thing, I think the Saints are too far behind. I might be wrong on that, but depending on how the rest of their season goes, which one of these do I need to hit? Hold on. That's the one. Okay. That was, brain fart. All right, let's see what they got. They lost to the 49ers. They're about to play a very easy stretch. Giants, Panthers, Raiders. That should be 3 wins right there, right? So that puts them. Trying to get up to the top here.
Hey, man, don't underestimate Tommy DeVito now.
I'm going to underestimate Tommy DeVito. Where the hell is? Okay, anyway, I was trying to see their record. Jonathan, can you pull up their record for me?
They're 2 games worse than us, right?
Well,
yeah. So I think they're 5-6, maybe 4-6. Let's see.
Millie Mills is not wrong. He said, "Heck, Jar, with the way we look Sunday, why are we overlooking the Raiders?"
I mean, honestly, yeah, we probably shouldn't really be.
Shouldn't be overlooking anybody. But I'm hoping that Sunday was an anomaly.
Right.
I'll give them an anomaly. If we come out and look inept, like completely and utterly inept,
they're 4-6.
Okay, so let's say they win these 3 games. That's 7-6. Okay. Say they lose to the Chargers. 7-7. Or no, 7-6, 7-7.
Well, they would be 6. They would be 6-7 if they win. Well, no, you're right. They would be 7-7. Sorry,
7-7. Probably going to beat the Cowboys.
You'd hope,
right? So 8-7, 9-7. This one, that right there, depending on what we do, they have a real good chance of ending up 9-8 or 10 or what is it? That would be
10-7.
8 or no, like either 10-7, 9-8, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to hope that they end up with the exact same record as we do. If we mess around and lose, like you said, Millie, to the Raiders or to Tommy DeVito or to Bryce Young, if we lose one of those 3 games and we don't win against, one of the other 3 harder games, like we could find ourselves second place in the NFC South when you had a 2-game lead.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's why you hope that this the bye couldn't have come at a better time. Obviously, I would have been okay with it being last week with the injuries that we have.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta hope that those guys, especially the guys on defense, are come back healthy or at least healthy enough to play, because we can't see that again. Like we can't not against the Chargers. No, we can't see that same crew against the Chargers at all.
No, because they'll
have Jimmy calling the same shit. I mean, last year we we came out of the bye week, almost. I know JR, you and I talked. We were like, okay, we're definitely going to see Art make some changes here, because he didn't make not one change. It looked exactly the same. So you got to hope that these guys can at least look at themselves in the mirror and be like, okay, this is clearly something we have to work on. We got to change some things up.
Right. I mean, I really hope that there's a spark with Tommy DeVito. Ha ha ha. Joke, whatever. But they do something crazy and they beat the Bucs here.
It's possible, dude. That defense is,
And then this is Buccaneers at Panthers. Bryce is starting to play a little frisky. Maybe.
Yeah.
This one, no, I can't. Like, that defense is going to make Gardner Minshew look like good. I don't care if Brock Bowers is on that team.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to hope for at least one loss in this 3. In this,
we forget,
stretch.
Even though the Chargers are getting going, and I know they have Jim Harbaugh, they are Falcons West, so they do have the tendency every now and then to just like lay an egg out of nowhere. So,
true, maybe
you never know.
Maybe they'll lay an egg against us.
That'd be phenomenal, yeah,
dude. Maybe we just come out of this bye week just pissed off and ready to chew nails, kind of thing.
You'd hope so. After 2 losses going into it, the way they happened to, it's like, I mean, it sucks for the fans, but the players themselves, that's a bad feeling to have in your stomach for, 2 weeks before you get to play again.
Yep.
Yeah. That's not a way you want to go into the bye.
Mm-mm.
And so that, the hope and the prayer is that they come out, recharged, refreshed, ready to do the business, because, like Millie says, if we miss the playoffs, who gets the axe? Who gets the axe then? I mean, I don't know, right? Because
it depends on how we miss it. Which part of the team is.
What ways happens? Like,
if it continues on the way it is, you got to. I mean, I don't know. It's so rare that a defensive coordinator gets fired in the first year. You know what I mean? Normally they get like a chance, a couple of years to kind of get it going. But like if the defense continues down this road, then I don't know how you wouldn't make a
I'll say
change there. I mean, like
I'll
you'd
say
have to.
this, just like with there's been a handful of teams that have already like first year in with like Shane Waldron, they fired
Mhm.
him
Yep,
and I'm like, granted, now that's Eberflus, trying to save his job,
for sure.
because he sees the writing on the wall as well. But if you're firing a coordinator 1 year in, like part of me thinks like, why'd you hire that guy? If it's that bad where you think it's fully him and they're giving up on him, that like I don't know, dog. Uh, you know, maybe they bring at the end of the season, whether it's as a consultant or not, maybe they bring Jeff Ulbrich back in.
Maybe
Uh,
I mean I wouldn't hate it. I mean, maybe Raheem was trying to help out his boy and was like, you know what? If it goes to hell this year, like it's your fault and you're gone anyway. Best case scenario, it works out wonderful and helped out a friend and the defense works
Yeah,
out. You
it's
never
it's,
know.
it's like it's like a, well, it's like a yes, it's his buddy who maybe he felt like he got a raw deal in the college ranks, and he wants to give him a shot. It's like, hey, you know, we'll take it by ear, year by year, but I'll give you a shot. Like if you can come in and you can get this defense rolling, then cool.
I'll,
That'll maybe help your prospects for other teams and other stuff
Mhm.
like that down the road. Maybe other head coaching jobs or maybe even other DC jobs at other places or whatever, right? But like with the understanding, like this is a coach version of a prove it deal,
I
right?
hope.
Players
I
get
hope
that
so.
all the
Yeah.
time. Players get that all the time where it's like, hey, you've been down in the dumps past couple of years. You take this cheap contract, you prove that you can do it, and you're either going to get paid by us or you're going to get paid by somebody.
Yeah.
Now I like this
And
idea
maybe that's what this is.
with
Dude, I'm
King
all about
Richie.
it, King. All about it.
Just bring in Steve Wilkes.
I wanted him to get a head coaching interview, man. I
Yeah,
thought he got
like
a
he's
raw deal in
already
Carolina. Uh, I mean,
he's got a raw deal a lot of places,
yeah. I
which
Wait,
mean,
makes
Steve
me
Wilkes
wonder.
is hanging around the
Honestly,
facility?
he was in the off season. I don't know if he still is.
I'll take him in a heartbeat.
did y'all
But
think that the offense got away from what just our offense? I mean, they kind of got away. Like after that first drive, it was like panic mode almost. To me, is what it looked like. I was
well,
like,
part
what
of
are,
me
what,
like
what are y'all
I
doing? Like, you can
think
still run.
I think Mooney was hurt more than like he tried to give it a go. I mean, he
Mhm.
wasn't there in the whole second half.
Right.
So I think they realized, pretty early on, okay, hey, we'll give it a go and see what happens. And then, maybe a little bit in, it was like, no, dog, and Mooney has been like the panic button guy. You know what I'm
For sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Like you needed a big play, you needed a drive extender. It's been Mooney, which has been awesome and amazing.
Yeah.
But you didn't have Mooney, and even though the part that really confused me was like supposedly, well, even listening to some of the Denver's guys, they were susceptible to backs catching the ball out of the backfield and athletic tight ends, and you didn't see them really try to feature that.
Nope.
And that's the part that is slightly concerning.
Yeah.
It was almost like after they were marching, they were down in the red zone. You got a couple penalties, like with one like that negated like a big play from Drake and something else. And it was almost like at that point, it was okay, the hell with it. We're gonna basically we're conceding. Like we're too injured. This stuff ain't gonna work.
Mhm.
And let's just get this game over with,
Yeah.
so to speak. And which I don't like that, at all.
No.
No.
Um,
And dude,
if-
that first drive, I mean, penalties again, though.
oh yeah,
Like,
dude.
how many times are we going to get in the red zone and then screw ourselves by stupid holding, and then Drake can't, or he's motion penalty or whatever it was.
Right.
I'm like, dude, come. I
You
mean,
had
like that's
you had the
we're 10 weeks
illegal
in. We
motion.
got to stop this mess. I mean, like, that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
But that's if you look at a lot of the losses that we've had this year, that's what ends up biting us in the ass.
all the
right?
time, man. All the
That's what
time.
bites us is not the this one in this game, we flat out got beat up. Okay,
Mhm.
we got manhandled. But that wasn't necessarily the case in a lot of the other games that we lost. When it comes to, it was a lot of it came down to us shooting ourselves in the foot in a lot of those other games. So,
well,
if we can get rid of that part of it, then we're going to be a better team just regardless. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I watched the Steelers Ravens game before our game on Sunday, and then then watching obviously seeing our game with Denver. I sent Mike a text. I said, dude, I was like, I know we've seen these teams before, but like we are so far away from what those guys have on defense. Like it's just a different. I mean, I know the scheme is different, but I mean it's a different mentality. Those guys are flying around. They're aggressive. They're obviously more talented in some spots than we are, and there's nothing we can do about that. But it's like and you see it. We saw it with Denver. I mean, like it's just a different style. We talked on our preview show, and y'all probably talked about it too. There, other than Surtain, like there's no really big names on that Denver defense. They're just really good at doing their jobs, and they're really good within that scheme that Vance Joseph has.
I must say, Vance Joseph is, an extremely good DC.
Yeah.
How's Jacksonville's defense been?
Atrocious.
Look a little poo poo down there. Yep.
That's part that, like, if you want to look at we were bemoaning that we didn't keep Ulbrich, or not Ulbrich, but Nielsen, and like he hasn't been at they just gave up 52 to Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, I would bring him back. Like if he was willing to come back and Raheem was willing to fire his buddy, I would bring him back because I liked his style of defense better than I like the style that we're running now.
Well, we also, Calais and Bud Dupree actually did contribute quite a bit last year. Yes. We don't have those guys, and so it's a big factor too.
But again, when you brought in Ryan Nielsen, that's when you go looking for those guys. Whereas I feel like when you bring in a Raheem Morris and you're looking to run his scheme, you're not looking for the bigger edge guys. You're looking for the smaller edge guys that for that kind of defense, right? Whereas bringing Nielsen back in, you're talking about going back to a 4-3. You're talking about bringing in the heavier edges. You're talking about bringing in just what I felt like was obviously the last couple weeks of the season last year when they really crapped the bed. But throughout most of the season last year, you really couldn't. Did they give up some late scores or whatever? But overall, like the defense played really good last year in that particular scheme, and I prefer that particular scheme to the one we're playing now. Like if I'm looking to build this team going forward, I want to get as mean and as tough as I can because right now I think the offensive line is good. You can say what you want about Matthews. You can say he's old and we need to start looking for a replacement. I think he's probably got a few more years left in him.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of that offensive line, I think, is fine. You need to get mean, tough as hell on that defensive line. And then if I'm going and getting cornerbacks, I'm going and getting cornerbacks that want to get up in guys' faces, that can be physical, that like to play man-to-man coverage, and I essentially want to play like what the Saints do. The Saints get up there and they pressure you physically at the line of scrimmage. They throw off your timing, which I think is one of the reasons why we had a big problem with them. Both times we really faced them, the offense has had issues going against them because they're physical with our receivers, and that throws off our timing. And a lot of the stuff that we like to do is very timing based, and that's going to be the same thing for a lot of the teams around the league. So you get more aggressive. You guys who are physical, who want to get in there, put their hands on guys, and knock them off their routes. Are you going to get beat sometimes? Sure, but I would rather die that way than 1,000 cuts like we've been seeing.
Yeah, I unfortunately 11 games in, we are what we are at this point.
I know.
And so hopefully we can, get back to having some turnovers. Hopefully we can get some guys healthy, Mike Hughes, Troy Anderson, and I'm sure there's some other guys like
Rook.
Yeah, Rook could possibly potentially come off of IR. I know that we just put
Helms too.
Yeah, Helms too. So I know that we could put that we just put James Smith-Williams and Taquan Graham, which doesn't help on the edge setting aspect.
Nope.
But the guy that been playing, I think is Kareem Khalid, or he's looked good. He looked good even in Denver, so maybe they'll start giving him some more snaps. The ship has completely and utterly sailed on D'Angelo Malone. Like, I don't ever want to see him suit up again.
No need for that.
Yeah.
None. Like, just
everybody that we would see in our comments, like, get D'Angelo Malone out there. And we kept saying, like, if he was as good as what we see sometimes in the chat, like people saying, like, I want to see him get his snap. He wasn't getting his snaps for a reason. And now that he's being forced to get snaps, we see the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, he's too light. He can't go. I mean, he was trying to go around blocks. He wasn't trying to like shed at all.
Right.
I mean, it was not. Yeah, it just wasn't good. I mean,
Falcons Vic with a $2 tip. We appreciate you. He says, he says, please, we have to stop the DBs 15 yards back, ASAP. Right. Let's,
dude,
get up in his face.
The first 3rd and 9 of the game. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like 3rd and 9, and we're, whoop, and then nobody like, and Cortland Sutton's in the slot. I'm like, and nobody's on him. I mean, somebody's on him, but I mean, it's probably gonna be the safety or whoever's playing nickel at that point. And it goes to him, and it's a first down. I'm like, dude, like this is not like. And I knew it was gonna be one of those games. As soon as it happened, I'm like, okay, here we go again. Same stuff.
Oh, when they marched right down the field and scored, I was like, oh, great.
Yeah,
maybe we can make some adjustment.
But we have to score every drive on a really good defense. Cool. All right, this will work out great.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like you can't stop them, and so they. Hopefully, we can get some guys back healthy. They can maybe make some tweaks. I still assume that these guys are smarter at football than I am.
Yeah.
So,
like if I'm Jimmy Lake and I see that exact same thing that you just said, if I don't see better combo coverage, maybe that was what was supposed to be there and it just didn't work out because the guy wasn't where he was supposed to be. I don't know. Okay, but if that's not working out, I'm like, and so far it hasn't worked out. Like we've given up a whopping like 71, I think it's 71.6 completion percentage.
It's crazy.
Over the year to the likes of Bo Nix.
Do you know what the average is?
Twice.
Do you know what the league average is?
Probably like high 50s, low 60s.
40. It's in the 40s.
Shut up. Oh my God, dude.
That's how bad.
You throw it on top of 10 sacks. What are we doing? Like,
we're not doing anything. We're out there.
If this was my job, like if that's like a regular person's job, like you're having a meeting with your boss, like 3 weeks in, like, hey, you're on a performance plan right now. Like you got to get this together, or your ass is fired by like the next few weeks. Like, that's terrible. God.
Right.
So I mean, if I'm seeing this, and the problem is that we don't have guys on the defensive line that are going to win fast. Right. We don't. If we've got a bunch of guys that are Croy Biermans, they're the guys that are going that are just going to like they're going to keep at it. They're going to keep working at it.
Effort
they'll get there eventually, maybe. But at the end of the day, they're not going to win it fast, right? They got the high motor guys, which is cool. It's good to have those guys, but you need some guys that can beat some guys fast.
Right.
If that's the kind of rush that I'm seeing, I cannot have my guys playing 10 to 15 yards off the ball. I cannot do it. You've got to be up there no more than 5 yards off. I don't care if you get beat deep, you get beat deep. Like I get it.
That's been the mantra, right? Is we're going to play.
That's why you have Bates and Simmons.
Well,
right? That's why you have those guys.
Yeah, right. You're playing that cover 3. You're playing that deep shell, trying to keep everything in front of you. But unfortunately, when your back end isn't tackling well, then that don't work either. So
no, and it puts that much more pressure when you have 7, 8, 9 minute drives that you're defending against, and whether they end up in points or not, you limit your offense's chances to score.
Yep.
I mean, like that's one less opportunity they'll probably have at the end of the game, or one less possession they're going to have because you just allowed a team to go 8 minutes and score on you. It's like eventually that's got to Because our drives, if y'all notice, like our offensive drives, when we score, they're like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, which is great, but I mean, we don't take time off the clock really. Like we get down there and do our business, but defense can't do anything on the other side.
Yep.
Debo Vive says the fact
Hello,
that the Broncos scored 2 of their TDs on screen passes because the cornerbacks were playing so soft should tell everyone what they need to do against this defensive scheme. Right.
100%.
Like they really, I do hope and pray that it isn't just a throw your hands up. All right, we'll try to fix it in the off season. That they do sit down and I know that in the season you can't wholesale change everything, but you can make some adjustments.
Yeah.
You can make some adjustments on okay, let's try some more press man stuff. You have what is supposed to be 3 defensive secondary gurus in Raheem, Jerry Gray, and Jimmy Lake. They've all cut their teeth and made their bones as secondary coaches. This is what this is supposed to be. And that's a part that is confusing and concerning. It's when you have the offensive head coach and your offense goes to crap. You have all this defensive brain power and somehow the defense looks worse than it did. When, as Millie puts it, it's crazy because we got 3 Pro Bowlers in the defensive back group.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect from the defense this year. I know it wasn't this. I definitely expected it to be better than what we're seeing. I didn't expect it to be like a top 5 unit or anything like that because we're still missing guys. We didn't know we had in Troy. Landman's good, but as y'all can all see this year, any type of coverage, he is slow as my grandmother. So, and that's just not a good place to be.
No, he's downhill and that's it.
Ellis, I prefer him rushing the passer. I mean, that's I haven't been hard on him this year just because I know I said on our show, he's had to do a lot. He's had to play a lot of different roles and do a lot of different things. And because the linebacker core has just been so in and out, we haven't had the guys on the field. Bertrand's been okay, rookie, what you kind of expect, some good flashes here or there. But man, it's been so just up and down. But I think when we signed Judon and Simmons, I was way more excited. I was like, oh well, hell, we have a legit chance to be a really good defense now. It's just nothing's panned out at all that way, man. So disappointing.
That was the brilliance of Belichick. He says, I watched Bill Belichick switch from a 3-4 to a 4-3 after halftime in our Super Bowl and switched up his whole scheme. Right.
100%.
That's I really hope that they do take that hard ass look and say, okay, this is not working. What can we do with the players that we have? And really take a look at it. Falcons Vic with $5. We appreciate you greatly. He says,
appreciate it, man.
He says, Penix and Red Zone, we run option RPO plays and expand, the playbook. Yeah, I don't know if you go if you really go with the 2 quarterback system. The only team so far that I've seen actually make it work decent is unfortunately has been the Saints. With the gadgetness of Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and look,
but that don't work most of the time. Not on.
Yeah, no, I'm not looking to have Penix run the ball. That's not. I mean, he's a guy that if he has to scramble, then he scrambles.
Right, but I'm not. And you know what I'm saying? He ain't built like that. He's not built like Josh Allen. He's not built like some of these other guys. Sure, scrambling maybe every now and again, but he has that ability, but that ability has landed him on the IR multiple times. He had his best year when he operated from the pocket and only scrambled if he had to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
that changing his play style and playing like that from the pocket is what got him picked 8th overall in the draft. He wasn't, if he had continued doing the things that he was doing that led to his knees getting hurt and getting hurt in other ways, if he had kept doing it, he probably doesn't even get drafted.
No, not at all. And Yeah, like Chris is like Penix is slow as John's grandma.
Damn,
Like,
it's a little quicker than that.
No, I think
That's
he's.
Kirk. That's Kirk. Kirk can't move. Like
No.
Penix he's more mobile than he. Like you said, he's mobile if he has to be. Like if he's got to get out of the pocket, he'll get out of the pocket. Like
Right.
Kirk is like, oh God, here we go. He's got to get out of the pocket. We don't know,
but
what's
the
gonna happen.
difference, and you saw it even on Sunday. The difference in Kirk and Penix is Kirk's or Penix has got a 20-year-old arm.
Yeah.
And like that's the difference. So like where a guy like Kirk is on the back end of his career, never really had the super powerful arm, but that's why everything is generally timing based. Like
Yeah.
it's timing and I'm throwing to a spot. As to where Penix has the power and ability to actually squeeze it into some tight throws. But yeah, I mean we're gonna see how it finishes up. As long as Kirk's healthy, he's probably back as a starter next year. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. The bigger issue is going to end up being like, what do we do on the defensive side of the ball to make sure we don't have the same repeat of such a horrible defense? Because
I mean, I want to see heavy draft defense. Well, we've been saying it for years. But I really think we need to replace. Like, I think we did a decent job of like this offense has been built, and I think that overall this offense is good, and I think it will be good going forward with Zach Robinson. I think he'll learn from this year. I think he'll be better next year. I think just the offense in general, like everybody, this is their first year in this offense. I think that offense is going to be better next year than it was this year. Robinson will have a year under his belt. Algier will be, Algier, all those guys. Maybe Pitts is here. Maybe he's not. Who knows? But I think that's not as big a deal one way or the other. I think, we can find something there if we need to.
I'll say this.
We've really got to replenish this defense.
Yeah, I'll say this. For the folks who were worried about, Zach Robinson getting poached after 1 year, I don't think you're going to have to necessarily worry about that.
No, I think so either.
The offense has been okay, but it's been streaky at best. As Lisa's pointing out, Zach Robinson didn't call any running plays for Algier. So there's still
they just got in chase it mode too early.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yep.
I mean,
and so.
I think they saw exactly what we saw, which was our defense is not going to be able to stop their offense. So we have to go now.
Yeah, we
like
have
that's what they saw, and I think they panicked and got away from their game plan.
Yep.
And I think it was a mistake, but that's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, and with the draft too, like you said, John. Like I mean, we kind of went defensive heavy this last one. Granted, it was later rounds. I mean, it was like it was not the first round, which we really need a first round pass rusher. Like I don't really care who it is. We need somebody to get in here and make a difference. But
we're gonna have to.
It just sucks that it just sucks. This year has been kind of you can't really even judge it because Trice goes out in preseason. Rook barely gets any playing time before he's hurt. Dorless takes 10 weeks before they even let him in the freaking field. So it's like Bertrand's okay. Hard. But so it's hard to even really say.
It's hard to determine whether this draft class is any good because it really felt like this draft class was meant to be and supposed to be a developmental class.
Yeah, a couple of years down the road, exactly.
That's what it really felt like. So we'll see what the offseason holds. So yeah, man, I think that's gonna do it because I'm about done talking about this.
I could complain and moan about the Falcons for another 5 hours, man.
Couldn't do it, man.
King, I'm with you, man. Yes, go get Parsons.
Oh yeah. Like if they can figure that out,
hey, they can have Kyle Pitts all day long. We'll correct our wrong from.
That's right. What you over here muting yourself for? Hitting buttons you shouldn't be hitting. Now you did it again. You're muted.
Dude, it comes undone like 7 times a show. I have to get.
Gotta get you a better microphone or something.
No, it comes out like if that's why.
That's why you're. All right. Well, it's just telling us that we got to get out of here. John, before he mutes himself again, tell him where they can find you.
I don't want to touch this freaking thing right now. Well, man, y'all can catch us every Wednesday night, except for this week because Mike's off in where's he at this week? I forgot. Somewhere in Nebraska working. So he has like less than no Wi-Fi where he's at. So we're not going to be doing a show tonight, which is thank y'all guys for having me on tonight because I could.
Yeah, we appreciate you jumping on. Yeah.
Get some feelings out and talk about, whatever that was. And on Sunday and on the next one. But we'll be back next week. It'll be our 200th show next Wednesday.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Nice.
So so we'll be that's it. We're just doing we dropped down to like we're like you guys. We're at one show a week now. So we stopped doing the recap shows and stuff like that. So just Wednesday 7:30 for the most part. Y'all can catch us here on YouTube and Twitter and Out of Your Effing Mind on Twitter. And you can follow Mike pretty much mainly. He does all of our stuff on TikTok and Instagram, Out of Your Fucking Mind on there. So thank you guys. Appreciate the chat, man. Y'all were awesome.
Yeah. Man, y'all
absolutely, man.
Exactly.
Love to have you every time. So
there it is. John, tell them where they can find you, brother.
At Jonathan M. Holder, come by, say hi.
There you go. I'm at Grim1128 on Twitter. We will not have a show next week, being that it's a bye week. Maybe had we won or something, might have found something interesting to talk about. But I'm going to use it as an excuse to keep my headspace right going into the holiday.
Well, we're like half our show is probably going to be playing games, talking about Thanksgiving. So I mean, that'll be like pretty much.
There you go.
Exactly. So hopefully y'all, since we won't see y'all next week, I hope y'all have an amazing Thanksgiving. Whatever your favorite food is, I hope you get full up on it. And yeah, we'll be back the following week after the Chargers game on that Tuesday. Hopefully talking about a win. Yeah.
I told Debo, man, this is the first time I've wore this jacket this season. I'm bringing good. Hopefully, it's good juju, good vibes, whatever we.
There
need,
it is.
Man.
There it is.
This week, yes, whatever.
Yeah.
If we win next weekend, I'm attributing it to you.
Look,
I'm superstitious as hell, so I'm pulling out whatever superstition I have is going to be used over this next couple of weeks.
I got no problem with them throwing out another like red helmet day. I mean, we ain't lost in those yet, so like
absolutely.
Let's do that. I mean, I don't know.
I'm down.
Anyway, as always, Falcons fans, we appreciate y'all and rise up.
Rise up, man.
Peace.
Peace.